Ну что, господа, всем привет, всем здравствуйте, с вами Скэтман. Сегодня у нас с вами Disco Elysium. Мы продолжаем проходить. Зав, привет. Кто-нибудь играл в Инквизитор, Мартур, Мартир? Без понятия, что это такое. Так. Hello, Mr. Streamer. Hello, Mr. Stream Gaming. How are you? Pretty good, thanks. And how are you? Do 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 do. Da 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 da. Сказать, смотри, теперь ты видел почти все. Это Марс. Да? Нет. Не знаю, может быть. Very good. Very хорошо. Так.
Two cables are plugged into.
Не спешим вырубать кабели. ББС. Окно подвала, из окна видны ноги прохожих. Зато у меня спрятаны две ржавые винтовки. Нифига.
A few bricks have fallen off, revealing a compartment behind the wall. It's too dark to see in.
Смотри, тут дыра в стене. Посмотрите на потайную
There
нишу.
is, yes. And there also appears to be something inside the hole. Interesting. Do you want to take a look?
Почему бы и нет? Заглянуть
Your
внутрь.
hand reaches deep into darkness and spiderwebs, rummaging around. You find rusty rifles hidden away.
Нет, не заглянуть, а он руку туда тянет. Ну, ё-моё. Какие там винтовки?
Are these any good?
Хорошие. Кстати,
Most of them
винтовки.
are rusty and inoperable, like the rest, but one catches your eye. A bolt-action model with a fine wood stock, in better cosmetic order than the others.
Выглядит неплохо. Взять винтовку.
That's a rare sight. Seems to no longer be functional, but still a beautiful thing in its own way.
Старинная винтовка Бельмаграф. Могли нашу жертву убить из аналогичного оружия.
It's the same type of weapon, yes, a breech loader. An interesting coincidence that we should find something so similar. But I'm afraid our search for the real murder weapon must continue.
Кто-то оставил здесь винтовку. Что это значит?
It means there are firearms, albeit inoperable, still lying around in Martinez. It's an interesting coincidence, I would say. Might come in useful in the future.
He likes this find.
Посмотреть потайную комнату. Это
Seems
еще
like
что?
an old bunker from the revolutionary period. Look at all those rifles. Must be an old weapons cache.
Он указывает наверх, где под потолком уложены винтовки. Под потолком кто-то попрятал сломанное оружие. Древняя сломанная Бельмаграф. Это боевая четырехзарядная винтовка со скользящим затвором и деревянным прикладом. 3,90 она стоит. Неплохо, но и не слишком много. Так, это мы куда выходим? Опа. Так. Денис Михайлов, здравствуйте. Ну, во-первых, вы не ругайтесь. Чё это? А во-вторых, почему зря?
Two cables
Герой
are
всю
plugged
неделю.
into
Да,
the breaker
постараюсь.
box. The red one leads to the ice bear fridge, and the black one to the ice cream maker nearby.
Ну что ж, отключим черный
Something
кабель.
close to you dies with a soft electric purr.
Why did you do that?
Потому что нам нужно отрубить машину, но нет такого варианта. Но он же черный, совсем не то же самое, что и
The
красный.
lieutenant raises his brows, but doesn't say anything. The electric distribution board now has one cable missing.
Да, чатик переставить на нас. Действительно, спасибо. Кстати, что за дыра в пятнице? В кино идем? В теории.
This orange machine is dead. You slip your fingers under the frozen lid, but the ice... No. This is going to need something else. If you want to try again.
Ну давай супермонтировку попробуем.
This orange machine is dead still. It has a
Машина
hand-cranked ice cream
отключена.
churner and
В
an
перчатках
electric freezer.
удобней.
The ice around it slowly melting.
Недостаточно надежная монтировка.
The ice squeaks beneath the pry bar. You think you've got the bar jammed in there pretty well, but the lid simply won't budge.
Да что ж такое?
You see the pry bar's metal handle bending right before your very eyes.
Yeah, well, that's a good pry bar. I'm not criticizing it, but this ice cream maker is frozen shut. It takes an advanced tool to get it open.
Понадежнее, можно его
I
взять.
have no idea, officer. This ice cream maker isn't
Коллега,
important enough to
officer.
requisition a special tool.
Sooner or later, you will stumble upon a tool mighty enough. Then we will know what's in this mysterious ice cream maker. The bullet is still safely sealed away in a plastic bag bearing the RCM stamp.
У тебя есть похожая винтовка. О, сверхмонтировка. Девочек, привет. Ну что ж, попытаться определить, с какого оружия был произведен выстрел.
A rifle, revolutionary period. Your bullet looks to be an old 4.46mm from the surplus left over from the turn of the century. Probably an antique or a retrofitted antique.
Модель?
The 4.46 caliber was widely used with the Belmargrave rifle, a Revacholian manufacturer. The BM dominated the battlefields of the Insulindian theatre of the anti-centennial revolution 50 years ago. Incidentally, you have just such a rifle with you, the dusty old thing you found hidden in the basement below the commercial area. It's unusable, sadly. If it were, the bullet would probably fit the chamber.
Кто-то до сих пор производит эти винтовки?
No, but Zeliger, a major firearm manufacturer, ended up with a surplus after the war. So there are still a lot of these old military rifles floating around, usually broken. The quality was appalling.
Кто использует бельмагар в наши дни?
Antiques enthusiasts, guerrilla fighters in distant countries, a few lucky jamrock bangers. You're looking for the same thing you found in that hidden weapons cache, only in working order.
What are you thinking? Bullet?
Кажется, я знаю, откуда это. Многозначительный потрясти
Okay.
пакетом.
And?
Выстрел, возможно, был произведен из винтовки Бельмагаров.
An antique. That makes sense. There can't be many breech-loading rifles floating around in Martinez, or anywhere in Ravachol, really.
Почему?
Sure, there's some arms trafficking, but the laws prohibiting the use of breech loaders we inherited from the monarchy have been effective, from what I've seen. Some new RCM recruits get impatient with their muzzle loaders once they've trained with military-grade weapons, but they realize it's worth it in the end.
Prohibiting peacetime law enforcement to front-loaded rifles is a policy enforced by the Moralist International in all the nations of the Real Belt.
Заставляет задуматься перед каждым выстрелом. Это хорошо.
Imagine if everyone, cops, citizens, had access to firearms that could shoot multiple rounds without pausing to reload. After the first shot, the second, third, and so on come much easier. But back to the investigation.
Похоже, мы находимся в любительном
Doesn't
антиквариате.
seem that likely. But we'll check out all possible leads. Next step, finding the gun itself. Okay. An antique. That makes sense. There can't be many breach. I have to hand it to the monarchs. It's quite admirable that they took the advice of criminologists last century and banned the use of breech loaders in peacetime. Some new RCM recruits get
Prohibiting peacetime law enforcement.
Imagine if everyone. But back to the investigation.
Могла ли жертва быть связана с иностранными
Let's find
партизанами?
out. Next step, finding the gun itself.
Окей, короче, типа, эти вопросы нет смысла задавать. Я
Okay.
так понимаю.
And an antique. That makes sense. I have to hand it to them. Some new RCM.
Prohibiting peace.
Imagine if everyone. But back to the
Не
investigation.
понять, если хорошо вооруженные бандиты же могут перебираться в
Let's find
Мартинес.
out. Next step.
Ah.
Okay. An antique. I have to hand it to
Он
some new
то же самое
RCM.
скажет, да? Let's find out.
Peacetime.
Imagine if. But back to the
Есть
investigation.
что-то загадочное в таких антиквариатных
Mysterious.
пулях.
Okay. Either way, we'll know when we find the gun.
Пуля больше ничего не скажет. Найдите рабочее оружие, которое стреляет пулей калибра 4,46. Это какие отношения с рептильным мозгом? Привет. Ну, он что-то меня этот загоняет, что-то.
A thick layer of coal dust covers the furnace, coloring it pitch
Кликнуть
black.
хотел. Есть тут кто?
You muster all your strength and yell. Your dehydrated, hungover throat can produce little more than a dry croak. A lifetime of smoking and drinking will do that to you. The chatter from the chimney continues on as before. You seem to have made no impression on whatever's up there. Then again, maybe it's worth actually trying something up there.
Maybe you should let your voice rest, officer. Try again later.
Пнуть хотел.
A hollow ring echoes through the furnace. Your toe
Ау.
hurts.
Есть тут кто?
Something breaks loose in you. A mighty bellow echoes throughout the chimney's depths. The chatter of tiny voices above suddenly cease. Then,
Кто это? Отвечает женский голос.
you've awakened the entity.
Эй, вы там, поговорите со мной. Эй, вы что-то сказали? Голос умолкает. Я вас не слышу. Пожалуйста, поднимитесь наверх. На втором этаже есть защитный экран, и я открою его.
You hear a low rumble upstairs. The sound of a curtain being pulled aside.
After you, officer.
The bear's eyes are still glowing red.
Давайте вырубим еще и холодильник. Типа, нафига ему работать?
Only the red cable is plugged
Включить
into the break
толстый
and
красный
electric
кабель.
sizzle. The room is slightly quieter now. The bear's eyes are dead and empty. Ice inside the fridge slowly melting. The
Теперь расход электричества будет меньше. Опа, привет. Лотки полно игральных костей из однообразных форм и цветов. Их тут сотни. Автомат с конфетами переделали под охранение 1000 кубиков. Эпителий мозг существует, что эпителий задатчиками определяется часть гипотезы о едином мозге. Да, хиппи, мы в курсе. Мы гуглили эту тему.
Hello, I'm Nia.
Резчица игральных костей. Похоже на птичку, женщина восседает на троне из инструментов, сквозь ее волосы пробивается изумрудный свет.
Did you try knocking on my window? I must have missed you. I've been listening to my Milius.
Она постукивает по
So
наушникам.
what kind of die are you looking for?
Could this be the malicious entity? Perhaps it's wise to go along with this masquerade. She's got a direct view to the backyard. You should interrogate her about the lynching.
Что вы имеете в виду, как говорите,
Yes,
милье?
a Milius is like a call-in station. You need a two-way radio to access one. That's why I have these.
Он показывает наушники, лежащие на столе.
Mostly, they just teach you to swear in different languages. But some of the stations can be quite interesting. I was so absorbed, I must have missed you knocking.
Вы меня с кем-то перепутали, я не стучал в
Then
окно.
how did you get inside? By the south entrance? You know what? It doesn't even matter. What matters is that you're finally here. Let's talk dice. Did you have something specific in mind?
Почему спрашиваешь меня об игральных
I'm
костях?
a novelty dice maker. Tell me the name of your role-playing system and I'll make the die you need. That's why you're here, yes?
Role-playing games? You know the one made by Fortress Accident. Does that count?
Прямо сейчас меня не интересуют игральные кости. Я из полиции хотел бы задать вам несколько
Of
вопросов.
course, I can see that. I just thought you were a police officer looking for dice. How else can I help you then?
Как вы стали резчицей игральных
How did I
костей?
become one? It was a business decision. I was a regular jeweler at first, but that's an unfocused field with too much competition. Some of my friends were role players. They asked me to make some polyhedral dice out of cobalt. That was my first order. I grew it from there.
А сами любите ролевые игры?
Not especially. I like working with rare materials and a steady pay. And role players as customers? They're nice people.
Some of those nice people have big bucks to spend on novelty items.
Что вам известно о человеке, на котором учинили самосуд во дворе танцев в Трипье?
Nothing really. I didn't know him.
Who cares about the dead body? We might be dealing with a malignant entity here. The lieutenant looks at his notebook. Then the woman under the large window.
Your window looks directly onto the courtyard. You're saying you didn't see or hear anything unusual last Sunday evening?
I'm sorry, detective, but as you know, I
hippie.
usually have my headphones on when I'm
Плохо.
working. It shuts out most of the daily ruckus behind my window.
Что называете обычной суетой?
Well, there's always something going on in the Whirling's backyard.
Рука пытается подавать пример.
During daytime, there are usually those kids. And lately, I've been seeing a lot of drunk workers hanging about. Must be because of the strike. But I never saw anyone during that fateful Sunday night, I'm afraid.
И вы даже ни разу не оторвались от работы, чтобы посмотреть в окно?
I might have, but in this case, all I would have seen is my own reflection staring back from the darkness. It's really hard to make anything out in the yard when it's dark outside. Besides, I rarely get up to look out the window when I'm in the zone.
Вы часто работаете по вечерам в воскресенье?
It's an odd profession, making dice for people, but I like it, and I prefer doing this to sitting at home.
Понятно. Спасибо, что ответили на мои вопросы.
She nods.
Anything else, officer?
Ладно, что мы вообще где находимся? Что это за место смотреть
We're
помещение?
inside the chimney of an old central furnace. It's strange, I know.
Она скользит взглядом по красным кирпичам стен. Даже после того, как стены покрасили, на них то тут, то там все еще видны следы черной сажи. О, да, внутри
But
дымохода.
when I arrived here, all the other rooms were taken, so I had to build myself a makeshift home. Besides, I don't really have to pay any rent here, so that's a plus.
Plaisance was right. There's an entity living in the chimney. You should ask her about the curse.
Creative.
Выглядит неплохо. Лейтенант смотрит по столу помещения, высокий потолок, который теряется в сумраке. Ты уже разговаривал с Харди? Не знаю, кто это.
When she arrived here, there was no room anywhere else. She must have known the other businesses.
Слышу, это место проклято. Вы знали, что его называют проклятой торговой зоной?
I've heard the stories, but I don't think those stories are true.
Подождите, как вы тогда объясните, что случилось со всеми этими
It's
компаниями?
just capitalism. We only hear about tales of success, so it's often surprising to realize how many ventures actually fail.
Я здесь опомнюсь близанца, но убежден, что это место понизано негативной энергией.
Plaisance, the bookshop lady? I've heard that her business is doing rather well. Have the energy spared her somehow?
Вообще-то дела у книжного магазина идут не так уж хорошо. Покупателя почти нет, и ей приходится эксплуатировать собственную дочь, чтобы предприятие оставалось на плаву.
Oh, right. But it's not just the bookstore that's still up and running. What about the whirling in rags? Some people say it's part of the building complex.
Дела у танцев тоже не слишком хороши. Официантка только что уволилась, а клиентов проблемы с выплатой счетов. Так, погодите-ка, а как так? Так танцы часть проклятой торговой
You
зоны?
could say so. Both houses were built at the same time and under the east of the Commerce Central project.
Ну, в целом, да, вы правы. По танцам скажут, что не
And
проклятые.
then there is me.
Она вздыхает, глядя беспорядок на рабочем столе. Здесь сбросаны самые разнообразные инструменты, от ножей до кусачек
I've been
мясок.
here for 14 years, selling novelty dice to role-playing enthusiasts. Not exactly a million-real business idea, yet somehow I've survived despite the talk of malicious energies. Strange, isn't it?
Должен признать, что в этом так называемом проклятии действительно очень много
I was
исключений.
just about to ask, what do you think? Do you think the curse is real?
Time has come to face the source. Fear not, for the forces of the universe are supporting you in this psychic quest.
Я начинаю понимать, что никакого проклятия не существует, лишь коммерческие решения и естественные колебания рынка.
Exactly. Truth is always so disappointingly mundane and boring. But I'm glad we got this sorted out. Anything else I can help you with today?
Трепет. Вы знаете, что случилось с остальными арендаторами? Сейчас здесь больше никого нет.
More or less. Are you interested in anyone specific?
Диско, это была парикмахерская, да?
Yes, I think it was called Androgynous Orlando or something similar. They weren't a big hit around here. Turns out that working class men don't like genderless haircuts. They're scared of that word.
A bit of experimenting every now and then isn't bad. It's not about the haircut, it's about the confidence.
Что плохого в экспериментах? Их клиентам стоило мыслить более
I
прогрессивно.
guess it just wasn't the time yet.
Он вспоминает опять полуспытый платок. Что случилось с тренажерным залом?
It wasn't merely a gym, it was Artemitep's boxing club, a community project created to steer at-risk youth away from drugs and crime.
А кем был этот Артемитеп?
A kind man from Žems. I
Жемск.
think he had some trouble with the law when he was younger, and that's why he wanted to start the gym as his way of giving back.
Возможно, это именно то, что нужно Куна. Общественный боксерский клуб. Клуб.
Kuno. Who's Kuno?
Мелкий рыжий гремлин любит осквернять трупы.
Oh yes, you mean the kid with the sailor's mouth? Yes, I've
Sailor's
heard him
mouth.
yelling profanities in the
Ругается
backyard.
как маяк. Но у нас выражение есть ругаться как сапожник, поэтому...
I think it would take more than a gym to help that kid.
Судя по тем, которые мне тут встретились, из этого ничего не вышло, да? Подвести итоги.
It didn't. If anything, it made the youth situation in Martinez even worse. At some point, someone started a rumor that the punching bag downstairs was full of amphetamines. Eventually, the coalition took away the funding and the club went bankrupt. This was a few years ago. It's gotten much more peaceful around the plaza ever since.
А что там насчет разбитых окон?
Oh, this one's a mess. There used to be a company that promised to repair windows 24 hours a day. What could go wrong with this one,
Нажмите
right?
Q. Да, Хип, я знаю, что текст меняется с английского на русский. И наоборот. Что общего между сапожником и маяком? Ну, видимо, диалоги.
Turns out, the
Словарный
business
запас.
was actually set up as a front for an illicit group that was producing snuff milieux. Who would have guessed?
Что снаф белье.
What's the snuff milieu?
Да.
And they never cleaned up the debris either. Now it's just littering the hallway and I have no idea how to get rid of it on my own.
Хлам круто, очень круто. А что за снаф милье?
It's a sub-Rosa radio station that broadcasts real murders with real victims. Some people pay good money to get off on it.
Нифига себе. Типа онлайн-арена. По мне такая офигенная фича, почему не сделали фото для разговорных игр, как вот Хиппи. Потому что большинству людей она не нужна, Хиппи.
Don't worry, the ICP has a separate division that deals exclusively with unlicensed sub-roses. This isn't our problem.
Good luck with that. It's not easy catching those perpetrators.
Если занимался таксидермией, я нашел множество чужих
You mean
животных.
Mr. Fabron, the taxidermist? No, he mostly just did drugs. Anything else?
Я нашел какие-то жуткие манекены.
There used to be a fashion atelier here, but I have forgotten the head designer's name. They were doing well for a couple of years, until the insect rights activists came.
Защитники прав насекомых? Какого?
Mhm. The atelier produced a certain collection that used chitin among the materials. Apparently chitin is made in the Occident, where it's extracted from beetle wings.
Защитники прав
And
насекомых.
you know how
Да-да-да.
all kinds of political movements are big in the Occident. The activists shut down the biggest chitin supplier, which of course caused the price to skyrocket.
Производитель хитина.
And, naturally, all the most fashionable tastemakers refused to be seen in chitin from then on. The atelier went bankrupt before they could finish the collection.
Разве у насекомых есть мозг, разве они могут чувствовать?
Actually, insects do have brains, but yes, I understand what you're saying. I think the protesters took it a little too far.
As she shifts around, you notice several dead flies on the windowsill in front of her. Legs up. They're not moving.
Anything else?
А что за лопасти винтов и лыжи?
They were made by a company called Slipstream. After they pivoted from making rotor blades to skis, their chief executive took off on a vacation with all their money.
Пиратство в окна, ухмыляется.
Honestly, I think it's quite funny. I think he's still sending out holiday transmissions from Tulula or Tiumotiri or Hashtkor or wherever he is.
Интересно, о чем же говорится в этих приветах?
The usual, I imagine. That he's been thinking up all kinds of new business plans and can't wait to get started on them just as soon as he returns.
И улыбка становится шире, но потом она замечает лейтенант, стоящий с
Men like
тобой.
that are a curse.
Такие люди, сущие проклятие для бизнеса.
Sure, but Slipstream is history now. All their remaining assets got seized by the bailiffs in 47. I have no idea why those skis and blades are still lying around in the house. Not much use now, I guess.
Maybe you could make a sword out of one. No, wait. Forget it. It would take too long.
Меч сделать! Я нашел странную машину.
Fortress accident. the radio game studio.
Закрыв глаза, отдаваясь воспоминаниям, которые заедают
They
ее
were an
лицо.
interesting bunch. We talked about role-playing systems every now and then. Once, I even saw two of them get into fisticuffs over Wirral. They certainly took their work very seriously, even if they seemed to be chronically liberal with their schedules.
Либералем, что имеете в виду, что
The
произошло?
usual. They ran out of money and couldn't get the project done on time.
Что ж пошло не
Well,
так?
I did hear them talking at times.
А смотрит в коридор, будто до сих пор слышит их болтовню во время перекура с защитным экраном.
They seemed to believe they were historical individuals on some grand quest.
Судя по тому, что я видел, проект действительно выглядел очень
Yes,
впечатляющим.
but when the money started to run out, they just began to complain a lot about capitalism. You know, how the markets are rigged to keep out new businesses and so on. In the end, they just didn't get it done. They didn't have enough willpower to produce something truly historic and to show up to work on time.
Оу. Очень жаль, я бы их поддержал, проект выглядел интересно.
Not the wisest decision. You would have lost all your savings.
Мы бросаем полагали кости на стол, одна из них становится руками металлической
The
столешницы.
result is 1 on a 20-sided die. The dice is black and filled with little silvery flakes, like snowfall.
Anything else?
В подвале нашел ужасное чучело медведя.
Oh boy, the fabled Revershow ICT. You're in for a treat here.
История вам точно понравится, она улыбается, наконец поближе, сложив руки на коленях, словно комик, который собирается сказать смешную историю.
The place was owned by two guys who had some rather innovative ideas about marketing. The bear was one of them. Now ask me about their other ideas.
Indeed, what were the other ideas?
Ладно, то какие же еще идеи у
There
них
was
были?
really just one. And it involved picking out the prettiest girls in the neighborhood and paying them 20 cents per hour to man the booth. And by man the booth, I mean slump behind the counter with a face that could maim you if you ever dared to disturb their bored magazine browsing.
Отклоняется, осуждает такое поведение.
Victor does the same thing.
Да. Ну, чего они ожидали? 20 сантимов в час, это почти бесплатно. Я удивлен, что они вообще приходили на
Oh, but
работу.
they did. They did show up to work, and not alone. There were also acne-ridden girlfriends and gorilla-like boyfriends loitering near the ice cream stand. And they already had the bear.
Она пока глаза, как будто воспоминания причиняют ей боль. А что они с
The
медведем?
bear.
Повторяет она, потирая виски, словно пытаясь избавиться от головной боли. Затем не сработало?
Of course not. The bear was terrifying. No one wants ice cream guarded by a hostile apex predator. To make matters worse, the fridge didn't work too well either, and half the ice cream came out malformed and partially melted. Eventually, Ravishell Ice City lost the price war to its rival, Glacé 5000. Glacé 5000 sold caramel sundaes for only 5 cents apiece, out of regular fridges.
Я убил этого медведя, ты отключил его. Давайте я скажу.
You
это,
did
да.
what?
Она, подъезжая поближе к своему креслу, желала увидеть, что не ослышалась. Я отключил холодильник, чтобы помочь Revershow ICT сократить расходы. Камень побес. Фу.
Ugh, of course they left it plugged in. Even in death, the bear is costing them money. The taxidermist who made it said it was his vision beast. He said he met his vision beast while high on desiccants. He called it Megatherion.
Sounds cool.
Мегатериум.
Megatherion, a mega wild beast.
Что значит великий
It's
зверь?
an imaginary beast that guides you through life by telling you to do more drugs, mostly.
Я не понимаю
Very
наркотики.
good. You shouldn't do them. You're a police officer after all. Anyway, now you know the story of the fallen ice cream empire.
Завершая свой рассказ, она выглядит немного печальной, пылинки кружатся в лучах света, ее взгляд рассеянно следит за этим хороводом.
Little sparkling embers under the window.
Десикант — разновидность пестицидов, химические вещества, вызывающие подсушивание растений на корню.
Anything else? Another failed business, perhaps?
Да.
I've been here for a long time.
Чайку! Пекусы сидят такие на компе, такие, да. Так, я нашел домофон подъезда, то знаем, но он не работает.
Oh, right. I hope you didn't try to ring me. I think none of those doorbells work, including mine. I'm still in the middle of connecting the wires. Sorry about the confusion.
The doorbell with the empty name card must belong to her then.
Так говорите, что кнопка без таблички на домофоне ваша?
That's right. I haven't even written my name there. As I said, it's quite useless right now. It doesn't work yet.
Есть еще пару вопросов по поводу этого здания.
I'm listening. I'm pretty sure it still doesn't work, but sure. What do you want to know? Sure, I'm listening.
Там что-то есть. На самом деле я хочу спасти добром.
I hope it clarified things a bit. What else? I'm listening. Good. I hope
Хорошо,
it
хотел бы сказать, у вас
clarified.
игральная
Of course.
скорость.
Tell me what you have in mind.
Скажите мне самый необычный игральный костик, который у вас
A
есть.
star that fell from the firmament? Those cost more than 7 real. Are you sure?
Нет, боюсь, он того не стоит, извините.
All right. Maybe some other tie then.
Извините, на самом деле я не знаю, какая игральная кость мне
How
нужна.
about an amber die?
Янтарь, золото бедняков.
Who told you amber was cheap? It's beautiful, really, and has been treasured since the ancient times. For 7 real, I'll craft you a 13-sided
Это
die
также
from
7
piece of
реалов.
amber with a fossilized insect. It's perfect for those who can't seem to let go of their past.
Мне нужно подумать, передумать.
Maybe you have some other ideas for dice?
Мне нужна обычная игральная кость,
A
очень
normal
обычная.
die? I'm a novelty dice maker. I don't make normal dice.
А чем же вы тогда занимаетесь?
Polyhedral dice. Dice that have more than 4 sides. Octahedrons, trapezohedrons, dodecahedrons. But
Больше
also
4 граней.
barrel dice and teetered bows.
Ну ладно. Кости,
Come
волчки.
on now. Be a little creative.
А вы как думаете, какая игральная кость проверит моей
I
личности?
think I have just the right one for you.
Открывает верхний ящик рабочего стола, что-то оттуда вынимает, в его ладони лежат две многогранные кости, красная и синяя.
You're a police officer, right?
Отсылочки.
Here, catch. They're a gift from me.
Подарок от меня. 12 средняя, 10 поймать кости.
You overthink it. Your hands can't agree what to do, and the two dice drop to the floor and scatter in opposite directions, like pearls from a broken string. The blue one disappears down the pit in the center of the room.
Ah, down the drain, like your career.
Что
I
произошло?
apologize, officer. That comment was unnecessary.
Да. Команда апорт не для меня. Подобрать красную кость.
That one is made of bloodstone with a lapis lazuli inlay. The other one was the inverse. They were a set, you see, but now the set is broken. It's a shame. They might have brought you luck. And you definitely need luck in Martinez.
Is she pitying you? Good God, she's pitying you.
А, вниз ходить, печь просто.
Now, was there anything else?
Подобрать ее. Почему ее предприятие осталось на плаву?
You feel nothing. If anything, it's uncomfortably warm in here.
Оставить
She
все как
has
есть.
begun
Пока
to
что.
idly clean one of her carving tools with a dirty kerchief. The tool's sharp edge shining in the light of her desk lamp. Wow, so someone's been a little boring.
Что?
Yes, my standard liege. Someone's seen all sorts of wild ideas pop off and thought, I'll take the boring one. The regular, please. The brown.
Там по то, что коп зануда 4. Ким, я скучный?
You? I wouldn't worry about that.
See? You're so regular and vinyl brown. He doesn't even want to talk to you about it.
Чё ты пиздаешь ко мне из-за того, что я недостаточно безумен? Да это вообще меньше из моих
No
проблем.
need to be defensive. The regularity, the brownness, the cut and dry have their appeal. A very standard appeal.
Слушай, я просто пытаюсь сделать свою работу. Тут ничего
Of course
витиеватости.
you do. Let's get right to it. My lord's copper type is regular cop. I'll let everyone know. I'll send out a telefax.
Погоди, то есть теперь это будет моим
Yes,
капотипом?
the type of cop you are, sire. Think of it as a caste, a class even, a nation of regular law officials that you belong to. It comes, of course, with the usual benefits.
Usual. Эх, ты бежать хочешь? Давай. Может, еще потому, что ты выбрал вариант, что тебе нужна обычная кость? А, может быть. Почему не отправлять свой телеграмм, не стыдиться нечего?
Done and done. No actual communiques will be sent, of course. That would be too dramatic.
Мысль обычный служитель закона. Ну что, так, -2 внутренняя империя, выявленный бонус за исследование. Никаких глупостей. Ну что, похоже, что в тебе еще осталось купиться нормальности, маленькое зерно обыденности, только старого доброго полицейского трудяги. Нет, ну кто мог подумать, в тебе, самом необузданном из всех копов. Что ж, ты наговорил как удучающий скучных вещей, и теперь у тебя есть выбор. Можешь оставить их в прошлом и забыть, а можешь использовать своей нормальностью, интернализировать ее. Вернуть нотки ванили в яично-лакричное мороженое с селедкой твоего разума. Пэт Фоксэм. Селедка моего разума. 20-граммная красная игральная кость. Это 20-граммная... Этот человечишка! 20-граммная игральная кость сделана из кровавика с вкраплениями ляпис-лазури. Цветом она напоминает полицейский спецсигнал. Ее синий напарник отсутствует. Немного похоже на выезд пожарной машины. Пипец, руки и задницы. Чё? Примечание, чтобы посмотреть доступные белые поверхи, откройте вкладку «Карта» в журнале. Чё? Ничего не понял. Я во вторую посмотрел. Да, красиво, согласен. D20.
Oh, it's you again.
Две проверки открыл, которые завалил в ДНГ. Все?
A thick layer of coal dust covers the furnace, coloring it pitch.
Ну, кость не найдем, да? Ну вот. Какой атрибут твой любимый? Нет, нет такого.
This orange machine is dead still.
Если пнешь, уже пинали. Или заглянуть, не? Ну там должен быть диод
Thick layer
подсвеченный.
of coal dust. It's dark and grimy. The echo is so.
What are you doing? Wait, really? Maybe it's coming from behind those safety curtains.
A lush layer. Maybe you could paint something with this coal. Leave a cave painting for future
Да, те же самые дела, которые уже были. Ничего нового. Мы реально потеряли второй кубик.
This old fire. The whole thing resembles Kadran most. Your flashlight slides over, and some of the writing has faded with age.
Потому что сами все проверки, они в корневой фазе находятся.
Tiles on the cube are still smoldering. The speaker comes.
Good afternoon. Fortress accident en rue de Saint-Ghislaine. This is East Insulindian Repeater Station 1. Please repeat. Is this the production schedule?
Попробуем пароль для производственного графика.
Good. Please repeat the password.
Это полиция, пожалуйста, откройте эту штуку.
I am contractually obliged to protect the privacy of the filament holder Fortress accident. Without filing a warrant with Intel, I cannot give you access to this filament.
Не зарегистрировав описание в
I'm
Intel.
afraid we are not doing that, unless we want to wait for a month.
Now, can you please repeat the password? Received.
Don't worry.
Fortress accident. Thank you.
Tiles on the cube are still smoldering.
Fortress accident.
Looks like someone tried to reconceptualize their business here.
Я не понимаю.
Look, the skis and rotor blades both bear
да.
the same Slipstream logo. It seems likely that they started
уже
out
знаем.
making one, failed to turn a profit, and then pivoted to producing the other.
Но остается вопрос, с чего они начинали, на что переключились. Я в
That's
курсе
a
уже.
good question.
Какой странный скачок воображения. Увы, в конце концов, у них ничего не вышло, а жаль.
Reality is ruthless.
Пикисы. Ну вы чё тут уходите, двери вышибаете? Ну чё?
The barbell waits patiently.
Нет, это опасно. Чё, на плакате похож на Гийома или Мийона?
and well. Don't keep me waiting now. What's in there? In that dark sarcophagus?
Мрачный саркофаг, цвета
Yes,
пауза.
yes. How was it?
Tell her how ghastly it was. You know it's what she wants to hear.
Если честно, там просто помойка. Не на что смотреть, только горы хлама. Не хватает солнечного
But
света.
what else did you find? Did anything survive? No, of course not. Have you located the entity?
Я пообщался с сущностью, о которой вы говорили. Ее зовут Ния, и она занимается изготовлением легальных костей.
Novelty dice maker? Well, spit it out. Why does she need the dice? For some kind of sorcery? Sometimes they use the ankle bones of sheep.
Она у вас не колдунья, не заурядная сущность, она предприниматель,
I
как и
don't
вы.
understand. If it's not her, then where is the source of the doom? How did she explain the curse?
She's squeezing on the pendant too tight. A drop of blood in her palm. Just don't say you don't have any answer yet. The uncertainty is killing her. To hell with it. Perchance you ought to just lie, sire.
Солгать. Она сказала, что дело в капитализме. Банкротство — неотъемлемая черта экономики.
Wait, what? The entire economic system is cursed?
Так и есть, в этом мире нет никаких гарантий, все вечно идет не так, нужно привыкать к хаосу.
Precarious world? Economy?
Вам сказать, говорит о клон, кто держит
I
ближайшие руками.
understand what's going on here. You went in there, rummaged around, and accomplished nothing. And now you're telling me these intellectual things to cover up for it. It's okay. You don't have to. I was wrong to trust another person. I will manage this psychic calamity as I always have. Alone. On my own.
As she has to, every day.
Thank you for nothing. Please, do buy some books, or be on your way.
Ну что ж.
Total psychic collapse between you two right now. There was never any other way this could have gone. She's just too far gone into
Да,
her own
поможет
way.
только эволюция.
I am sorry we had to disappoint you, ma'am. Can we go now?
Да, да.
Hi, Ace Detective.
Ace Detective. Дочку жалко, да. Ну, опять же, у нее, с другой стороны, ситуация... У нее не все так плохо. У нее не жизнь Куна, с другой стороны, знаешь.
You see a set of tire tracks in the...
Карта на стене.
An old call box with a matrix of push buttons
Тихо,
lists
Кирилл.
all the companies in the East
Да, один
Delta
диалог был.
Commerce Center.
Так. СК парикмахерская
You ring the
Ланда.
door. What an ominous name for a hair salon. Doesn't bode well for anyone's hair.
Юношеская школа бокса и тренажерный зал Артемитеп.
All you hear is static, but no one answers the call.
Окна
You
24.
ring the doorbell, but nothing happens.
Ателье Эмма.
You wait for a minute or two, but all you get from the call box is silence. No one answers the call.
Феброн такси.
Looks like
Гермист.
someone has melted half the plastic off with a lighter. The doorbell doesn't work anymore.
СК
You
Сливстрим.
hear static from the intercom speaker. It sounds as if someone has picked up the receiver but isn't saying anything. You can almost hear them breathe.
Алло, меня слышите?
Yes, hello. This is Tricentennial Electric.
Здесь еле слышен женский голос с первыми помехами.
Have you come to place an order?
Нифига, я в СК Сливстрим позвонил.
She sounds almost antique, as if her voice was being played off an old wax cylinder. A receiver must not be working properly. Wait, but what happened to Slipstream
Yeah.
SCA? There's no Tricentennial Electrics on the list.
Кто это? Я заходил, внутри не было никого из Tricentennial Electrics. Это место заброшено.
My God.
The lieutenant exchanges a look with you.
It's you. My God. I didn't think I would hear your voice.
She must be mistaking you for someone else.
Наверное.
Who cares that you don't remember her? Just go along with it.
Мы знакомы?
Michelle, just please.
Слышу тяжелое дыхание, кто то и дело появляется длинными
Why
помехами.
did you even call? I don't understand. You've been gone for months. I thought you didn't care.
Так, постойте, скажи, что я в чем дело? Что я такое сделал?
Ever since I came to live here, it's been different.
Капец, мы какого-то призрака пробудили.
A spot of static overrides her words. When she speaks again, it sounds like she's submerged.
It's so nice. It's so nice to be able to finally meet again.
Забыть о чем?
She sounds like she's about to cry.
Боже, пожалуйста, не плачьте.
She doesn't answer.
Эй, вы там?
Silence. The only thing you can hear now is static and waves washing ashore on the bay.
Что это было?
Another seagull passes by. It's getting cold standing here, staring at the silent call box.
I don't know what happened either. We should probably stop playing with it.
Ну что ж, ладно, до свидания.
You press the
Поясни
number
тут.
sign on the keypad that terminates the call.
Сила
12
воли
main cards
сложно.
on the call box read.
Плюс один восковой цилиндр, плюс один СКА Слипстрим.
No, hold on. The last thing you need in your life is more hysteric emotions. Forget it. Find something else to do.
СКА Fortress Accident.
Silence. No one's home at Fortress Accident.
Главный торговый зал здания Б, танцы в типе.
Nothing happens after you ring the doorbell. They don't want to talk to you.
Пинбольный зал Восточная Дельта, вход через здание Б. О, так вот, может, пинбольный зал находится за той дверью?
Silence. No one answers your call.
Главный торговый зал здания
An
А.
off-key melody starts playing after you ring the doorbell. Then a woman picks up the receiver.
Владельца магазина книжного, да?
Trudeau, please stop calling here. Grown-ups don't have time for your stupid games.
She thinks you're the gremlin child. What would he say to this?
Близнец, это я, как я говорю, веду расследование в проклятой торговой зоне.
Oh, I'm sorry, officer. I thought you were...
Последние слова не слышно из-за
But the
этого.
doorbell is broken, and the bookstore shouldn't even be on the list anymore. So I can't help you. Please don't call here again. Thanks.
A single beep indicates that the line has gone dead.
Так, надо пожрать бы чего-нибудь. Где-то была какая-то потенциальная функция.
There. Working class drunk. You know what this means, right?
Дело раскрыто.
Cracked it. All in a good day's work.
Погоди, ты о чем? Что я щелкаю?
What do you mean, what did I crack? Look at how working class that drunk is.
Это же ее муж, попавший муж. Это будущий предводитель пролетарского восстания. Это какой-то третий вариант?
No. Stop goofing around, recruit.
Ладно, это ее муж, попавший муж.
Yes, and you found him. Now go and tell the working class woman. Protect and serve, recruit.
Тут что-то не сходится, не хотелось бы сесть в
Do
лужу.
marriages make any sense? Does honor? You're not a filthy philosopher. You're an
А, это
officer
девах,
of
который
law.
говорит, типа, я не
It's
знаю, где
time
муж, но и
to ace
ладно.
this case and not brood over your reputation. We can deal with the perception management later.
Шампанского и отправляюсь выполнять свой
There's
долг.
no need for champagne when there's honor. Go and tell the working class woman what you found right now.
Окей. Я такое хочу, всегда было и будет. Ну, типа, авторитет посчитал себя выше, чем этот пьяный пролетарий. Типа, идея в этом. Слушайте, защищайте, я нашел вашего мужа.
God damn it, I already told you. My husband isn't missing.
Ну, я все равно его нашел, он настолько хорош.
Very well then. Where is he?
Вот, президент полетаю в море.
Excuse me? I don't follow.
Ну, я нашел пьяницу полетая, потому что это ваш.
Right, because working class women come with alcoholic husbands. You know that?
Remember, about that what, never ever say what.
И что-то плохое, наверное. Извините, я иногда несу всякую чушь. Я не хотел обидеть вас.
You were right. I do have an alcoholic husband. Although not that one.
А, жалкий коп, черт.
Ha, lamb, knew it.
Я уже говорю, что ваш муж в
I
порядке.
did, and he is. He's also an alcoholic.
Так он тоже попал?
No, he's not. Or maybe he is, I don't know. He's probably in the park or in Shamrock somewhere, drinking with his friends. I haven't seen him for... Well, to hell with him.
Совсем позабыв о книгах, она сможет поступить с собой. Ким, только мне кажется, или у нас тут и вправду дело по вашим без
I
вести?
wouldn't be so sure.
Отвечает он, прежде чем вернуться к
Ma'am,
полетарке.
just to be completely clear, do you want to report it to the police?
Report what? He's just out drinking with his friends. I'm sure the police has better things to do than to chase down local goofballs.
Неправда, у Аргера хватит сил отводить каждого дурного в городе. Мы
She
заботимся о вас.
sighs, but you can detect a slight hint of gratitude and relief from her face.
All right, go ahead. Do you have any questions?
Как ваш муж выглядит?
Honestly, not that different from you.
То есть он алкоголик на поздней стадии?
That's one way to put it, yes. No offense. I'd also add he's a little bit chubby.
Понимаю. Что еще?
What
А что там
else?
смеется?
He was wearing a dark
Играет?
brown leather jacket with a bright
Голец?
blue inner lining.
В старой коричневой
handsome.
кожаной куртке.
I made it myself.
С ярко-голубой прокладкой я ему сам пришивала. Старая коричневая кожаная куртка.
It's his cool jacket. God knows it's too cold to run around in this, but he refuses to change.
Who cares about the cold when you have your cool jacket to wear? You can completely sympathize.
I even tried throwing it away once, but he just dug it out of the bin. Can you believe it?
Ну, если так куртка в самом деле такая крутая, то я его хорошо понимаю.
Well, what can you do? I hope that at least that extra lining helps him keep warm at night. I wouldn't like him to catch cold.
Тади, привет. Ну, она не услышит. Когда последний раз видели?
Yesterday morning, he went to the library. He went to retrieve my book and he promised he'd walk straight back home. Because we talked about this. We talked about not wandering off again. I don't know what to do. I honestly don't know what to do with his addiction. Just makes me feel weak.
Gone for around 36 hours then. Damn, this is a missing persons case. She turns away from you in an attempt to recover.
Спасибо, думаю, мне все ясно.
So you are going to look for him?
Да, приду вам домой.
Thank you. Please do. Even though I'm sure he will return home by himself. I'm still sure of that.
She tries to maintain a brave front, even though her eyes reveal the opposite.
I'm sure he will too. When he does, would you let Precinct 57, Kim Kitsuragi, know?
У тебя дает ей листу
I will.
бумаги.
Of course, officer. As I said, it's probably nothing. Right.
She gives you a short nod.
Vigilance officer, what can this old carabinier do for you?
Я нашел новый буль, потянуть шар.
What is this? Are you mocking us? This isn't for pétanque.
Ставить раз мощь можно снять для толкания ядра, подняв те глаза, он говорит, пытаясь сдерживаться.
Now. No need to get angry again, René. I'm sure the officer tried his best. It's not like there's a bull kiosk here in Martinez.
Вот именно, я правда старался.
Trying is worth as much as is accomplished. In this case, almost nothing. Fine. You tried to right a wrong. It's still a gram better than actual nothing.
Круто. Здание выполнено. Что ты можешь рассказать мне об этом ружье, показать свои
The
винтовку?
Belmagrave, 4.46 caliber, breech loading, Revachol made. Good weapon, accurate and reliable.
His moves are quick and precise as he first checks the weapon, then aims it at the sea. This man knows firearms.
This one's inoperable. The bolt spring is missing and the mechanism is jammed shut. Still a beauty. Where did you find her?
Что значит нашел? Это мое ружье, оно всегда у меня было. И, наверное, вот французский гонщик. Есть в подвале, указать ниже
I'm
магазин.
not surprised. There are probably lots of forgotten wartime weapons lying around here. Back in the day, everyone had something stashed away.
Ау.
As for the rifle, I don't know what else to tell you. These BM-446s are an antique. No one uses them anymore. The ammunition is impossible to find.
Что он стал свалить такого, что дает ему столько гордости?
Still, all you see is an old soldier refuses to replace his uniform with a civilian attire.
Anything else I can assist you with, officer?
Officer,
Будет очень вкусно, показать на
the
сэндвич.
mess.
Может
I'm
вкусить.
sorry, officer, but I really don't share food. Nothing personal, it's just a principle.
The only one you have.
The sandwich looks like a culinary wonder, well made and abundant in components. The author sure knew their craft. In addition to the obvious slice of ham, a fat one, you notice a brim of a tomato peeking from below. And is that mayonnaise?
Ну, пожалуйста, дай хоть куснуть.
Believe me, officer, I wish I could help you, but I need this sandwich to keep my blood sugar stable. In my age, you need to pay attention to these things.
Пожалуйста, друг, давай его
Fuck
поделим.
off. It's mine.
Дергается в сторону, тут же приходит в ужас собственной
A glimmer
реакции.
of respect flashes in Rene's eyes.
Sorry, officer. I'm sorry. I didn't mean it in a bad way. But the sandwich is mine. I'm not gonna share it.
And it's gone.
When the dissidents come to rape our country, he hides. But try to get a bite of his dear sandwich and he gets claws? We are a special kind of vermin, Gaston.
Убедить Гастона отдать сэндвич. Ну дай сэндвич пожрать. Такая.
Officer,
A man so principled about his sandwich calls for a principled approach. Time to get political.
Что-то я не знаю насчет всего этого.
Too late. Daddy's already fighting the bad fight. Make it stick.
Да, похилиться. Митшотсон, здравствуйте. Все эти варианты или оголтелый фашизм, или такой же коммунизм. Что если я не хочу этого говорить?
Say one of these fascist or communist things, or fuck off. Whoa, easy there, Goldmouth. He doesn't have to say anything. Re-engage cop mode and bail out, if you like.
Возвращаемся в режим полицейского. Улыбнуться и кинуть. У меня есть несколько
all
способностей.
right. Let's hear them, officer.
Я пойду за сэндвичем завтра. Этот сэндвич будет моим. Так.
This coin-operated viewer is facing south. The instruction manual says to insert 25 centimes and pull the handle while looking inside. Then use the focus knob to zoom in if necessary.
Наверное, потом, когда сила воли у нас будет побита. Или хотя бы план наблюдать за мной без различных приемов приближения. Но толки сияет так, словно его недавно покрасили.
This is a wall on the side of an apartment building.
Почему смотрю на эту стену?
You have no clue. It's just a wall. So many walls all over Martinez, weather-worn, cracked, their paint peeling.
Are you trying to sneak up on me? Come to slit my throat in my sleep?
Apparently, she doesn't like people standing behind her back.
Pig's come to take me out. Trying to snuff me out.
А ты сейчас спишь?
Don't get fucking clever with me, pig. You think you're so clever. Trying to sneak up on me.
Садовый шланг. Пока снег не оставит, вряд ли он кому-то понадобится. Столы и стулья, побитые дождем и гнилью. Это с ней еще одна линия пулевых отверстий. Оранжево-бомжовская шапка. Плюс 1 скорость реакции, минус 1 риторика.
This must be it. The basement door is weather-worn. The copper nails holding the upholstery in place have turned green from sea air, and there's a knocker shaped like a lion's head.
Нет, потом, не сейчас. А почему у этой шляпы нету текстурки? Вязаная шапочка с двумя громадными дырками. Такую могли использовать в качестве маски во время вооруженного ограбления. Бак. Смотрите, что у Кима нимб на портрете. Да. Они слишком ужасно, что у него была текстурка. О, появилась. Ну, еще какой-то способ попасть в это здание. Рю де Сен-Гислен, северный объезд. Жилой комплекс Кейп-Сайд. Военно-морское пальто, плюс внушение, минус сумрак. Ну ты видел каркас, монтируемый мотоцикл и инструменты, с помощью которых его забрали. Там наверху какая-то девчонка, это она полила краску? Слово о краске. Выглядит как кровь. Пирс только для жителей Рю де Сен-Гислен, 33А. Твой номер в танцах не сильно больше этой яхточки. Она стоит больше, чем ты когда-либо сможешь заработать.
A striking woman leans against the cabin top of her sailing boat, smiling as you approach. Her green raincoat glistens with droplets. A silk scarf is tied around her throat.
Good afternoon, officers. I'm Joyce.
Joyce
L. Messier. I represent the board of Wild Pines, the owners of the harbour. You gentlemen must be from the RCM.
Подходит ближе, протягивает руку поверх перил. Пожать руку. Крепко жмете руку холодной пальцем.
Like steel, there is strength there. If she wanted,
Вот я
she
ее
could
искал.
sink her nails deep into your skin.
I was dispatched to handle a strike, not a lynching. Anything I can do to assist the RCM in this matter, I will. Glad.
That is good to hear, madame. My colleague will take the lead on this interview. I should let you know that he is recovering from an unusual medical episode. Very unusual. But I can assure you of his ultimate competency.
It happens quicker than a shooting star. But did the lieutenant just wink at you?
How interesting. I wish you a swift recovery. In the meanwhile, you have my full cooperation, and the full cooperation of the Wild Pines group.
Вы на яхте.
Why, yes, I am.
Под ноги на палубу, сверху колышутся бело-зеленые паруса. Кажется, здесь мало у кого есть свое судно.
Of course there are. We're on an archipelago. How else are you supposed to get around?
Погодите, на архипелаге смотрится?
Yes, we are. We are on Le Caillou.
Лекаю, вы вошли. Кайо это остров, а и вошел это город.
We are, and the city of Revachol is on the island of Le Caillou.
Кому то ни было, я не видишь, что здесь кто-нибудь еще катался на яхте.
I haven't seen anyone else drive a souped-up Capri Kenema motor carriage either.
Actually, that motor carriage has been specially issued to serve as a patrol and pursuit vehicle. It's for crossing long distances in the greater Revachol industrial harbor. It's not a toy.
Neither is this. A toy, I mean. It's a machine for crossing long distances in the Bay of Revachol, between the city and the islands.
You need to make this lady admit she's only riding around on this boat because she's rich.
Зачем?
Why what? Stop thinking. Take her down.
А ту ее. Получится, будто я завидую, это не так.
You're not. Okay then. Just keep on admiring the boat then. Unburdened by envy.
С парнем может поговорить лазер. Да, я знаю, лазер, мы с ним дело расследуем. Ладно, ты потом кто и сверху, я догадался, лазер. Но я как бы немножко тут занят. У нее есть имя?
The boat? No. It is called Cordelati 19 because that's the type of sloop it is.
Ладно, что это за яхта? Кто она
It's a
типа?
pleasure craft, a 19 pacer. It also happens to be rated for Category 1 racing. Though these days I mainly use it for business.
А нам нравится подвести
My
итоги?
sloop? I like it a lot. It's the eel's hips, baby.
Heels, hips.
I'm enjoying this part of the interview.
Отличная
It has so
беседа.
little to do
Не имеет
with the
совершенно
murder we're investigating.
ничего общего с убийством, когда мы следуем. У вас есть право на управление этой яхтой?
Officer, I assure you I'm a highly qualified pleasure craft operator.
The crowns of her teeth are porcelain, white as the boat's hull as she smiles. Qualified pleasure craft operator. So charming. Where's the damn license?
Подайте ваши права, пожалуйста.
I just renewed its safety inspection last month, officers. It is completely seaworthy. In fact, it's taken part in not one, but two insulindic regattas. Even finished once.
А что случилось у меня второй?
The other time, I would have finished the race were it not for an urgent work matter, much like the one I'm on now.
Ну, тем не менее, все равно должен проверить ваши права.
Actually, you don't.
В смысле?
The Wayfarer Act specifically denies the RCM the authority to demand anyone's operator license. It's a little-known fact among us law officials.
Хо.
The Wayfarer Act is one of the few pieces of legislation governing human interaction in the Revachol Zone of Control, along with the Emergency Trade and Ailments Acts.
Что-что?
It's one of the foundational laws in Revachol, designed to limit the authority of local institutions. Part of it prohibits the RCM from requesting most documents and licenses without permission from a coalition representative.
Да-да-да, Митros.
It's a law that keeps Revachol what it is, in limbo.
Погоди-ка, то есть никто из полицейских не знает об этом
I was
законе?
just being polite. Even school children know the Wayfarer Act.
Как по мне, так это больше похоже на закон
No
анархии.
need to politicize this. You may still ask for the lady's passport.
Да, я хотел бы взглянуть на ваш паспорт.
Of course.
И вот по команду плаща достает пачку документов в полиэтиленовом пакете. Кстати, ее в
The
паспорт.
woman is silent, smiling while the waves lap against the hull. In your hand, under the plastic, a light blue passport saying, Republic of Vespa. The coat of arms has a lion and an ostrich. The Republic of Vespa, formerly the Republic of Vespa Messina, was once a dual kingdom. An amicable parting of ways produced two constitutional monarchies. Vespa, the richer of the two, is an occidental nation known for its proximity to the Pearl and its exotic financial derivatives.
Что-нибудь еще?
It is a stable country, and yet there has always been something ominous about its perfect stability. It's a place at the edge of the Mwindi Isola, overlooking the Obisunt Isles, fracturing into the great unrest of the Pearl.
Сервис, наверное, край мира. Поставить страницу с
The
фотографией.
woman, born in the year 3 in the commune of Revachol, smiles at you, face adorned with frown lines and crow's feet. The photo is recent. The name reads, Rejoice Leighton Messier.
Rejoice, возрадуйся.
Yes. But please don't call me that.
Почему?
Joyce is much more efficient.
Efficient. Короче, эффективнее. Вы из республики Веспи?
My husband is. I have dual citizenship. A Vespertine is handier when traveling.
Похоже, в порядке, он тебе
She
документы.
nods and returns the plastic bag to her coat.
Только с яхтой мы забылись.
Good.
А скажите мне, Wild Pines, чем вы
What
занимаетесь?
we do. I'm afraid I don't speak for Wild Pines as a whole. It's a giant undertaking.
There was a touch of discomfort there. She wants to merely represent.
Хорошо, то а чем же они
The
занимаются?
Pines' core competency is logistics. Container shipping, freight, that sort of thing. See those airships there, blinking? Those are the shipping side of
Там
things.
указаны мелкие точки на горизонте.
And that is the terminal. Another subdivision deals with energy, oil and gas exploration, offshore platforms.
The Wild Pines Group is one of the original Revacholian Indo-tribes. Companies awarded royal monopolies by the king, the suzerain himself, centuries ago. The king is long gone, but several of the Indo-tribes remain.
Какие еще
Sombatis,
индотрибы?
LUN, an unknown entity known as Brightest Star.
Славно для вас подобралась компания.
Why, thank you.
А не уловил истинный смысл этой фразы. Сколько Wild Pines денег?
I'm not at liberty to discuss the company balance sheet, but I can tell you that last year the company booked more than 20 billion real in revenue.
Ух ты.
20 billion is a large number, but the conglomerate employs 72,000 people. They all need to be paid. Then there are capital improvements, interest payments.
Понадобится борт яхты, женщин хватает за какой-то штаг, чтобы сохранить
A
равновесие.
conglomerate the size of the Wild Pines is like a shark. If it stops moving, it will die. Then what becomes of those 72,000 families? It's a tremendous responsibility.
Откуда у Wild Pines все эти
They
миллиарды?
started as an exploration and cargo fleet conducting trade between the Samaran and Insulindian Isolas 250 years ago, when pine ships explored the South Seminese and charted Lomantang on behalf of the suzerain. Centuries of care, deliberation, and madness have gone into this endeavour. Vessels pass through the great unrest to re-emerge with apricots in tow. The logic of the system is totalizing. It's taken everything from its employees to build it.
Полагаю, наличие королевской монополии тоже поспособствовало успешному
You
старту.
know more than you let on. Certainly it helped, but most of the original Indo tribes have failed or been absorbed. To survive, Wild Pines had to grow and adapt. No suzerain did that.
А что такой гигантской системе нужно в таком вот месте?
You mean aside from being the terminal's legal owners, who are responsible for moving 8% of the world's cargo?
8% всех грузов в мире, да, уж действительно крупное
There are
предприятие.
no minor cogs in the system. Each terminal must be accounted for, lest the entire system break. Every hiccup in such a system means thousands lose their jobs, the world over. I'm here to assure that doesn't happen.
With your help, hopefully, says her warm tone.
Что можешь сказать о забастовке?
Everything. Right up to, but not including, trade secrets.
Погодите, а если я хочу услышать именно королевские тайны?
First, you'd have to repeal the Emergencies Act of Trade and Aliments that gives me the right to silence. It's quite the octopus.
Как же это сделать?
By throwing off half a century of foreign domination under the Coalition. Unfortunately for you, the Coalition also leases you the right to police West Revachol. But I am derailing us. You wanted to know about the strike.
Какую роль вы играете во всем
I
этом?
believe the official title is Senior Labour Negotiator. In practice, I'm a grocery clerk. I relay the union's demands to Wild Pines and return with Wild Pines' counteroffer.
And how are the talks going?
They're not. That's the problem. The union stopped all negotiations a week ago, after that awful lynching took place.
Wait, she just admitted that the lynching and the strike are connected.
Now they won't even let me into the harbour. There's a 2-meter-20 racist behemoth blocking the gates.
А, вы имеете в виду главомера?
Yes, Jean-Luc Measurehead.
То есть забастовка все-таки связана с самосудом?
Yes, I believe there is a connection. But that's a subject for later.
Как бы хотели переговоры до того, как случился
Let's
самосуд?
say I was not making the kind of progress I'd hoped for when I first arrived.
And when did you first arrive?
I arrived 3 weeks ago. Yes, in the middle of February. The bay was still partially frozen then. I prefer to do these things on site, like the RCM.
But the strike began in December.
I wasn't the original negotiator here. I took over after Mr. Gaumont hit a wall with Mr. Clare, the union boss. Mr. Clare refused to speak with Gaumont despite concessions he'd granted the union in prior negotiations.
This isn't the first time the union has gone on strike?
Heavens no. There have been 2 prior strikes. Both times the union won significant concessions, including overtime pay and a medical plan. This time their demands are more, I guess you could say, aggressive.
Ludicrous even. It's meant.
Абсурдные. Что сейчас с этим гомоном?
Mr. Clare told him to... How did he put it?
Идет пауза, чтобы взять себя в руки.
Fuck off, midget. Gaumont is short of stature, you see.
Да, не очень получилось.
Keep in mind, this is a negotiator Mr. Clare has worked with before, and who was more than fair with him and the union.
Какие требования они выдвигают?
There are leaflets everywhere, and banners. What did they say again? Oh yes, every worker, a member of the board.
Сверхагрессивная коммунистическая показуха.
In its defense, another said, demand democracy. Pretty tame stuff compared to every worker, a member of the board.
Большинство из них, скорее всего, даже не понимают, что это значит.
Fortunately, they explained it. Every time the Wild Pines group makes a decision about anything, it needs the signature of each of the 2,200 workers in its Martinez terminal.
Да, безумие.
Just so you understand, this is but one of 22 terminals owned by Wild Pines. Essentially, not only are they kings of the company, they are also kings of the 72,000 employees of Wild Pines Group.
Должен признать, это действительно смешно.
They're having a blast. But how can they afford it? After 4 months, my assumption was they would prefer a more practical solution.
Что собираются делать?
I'm not sure. Naturally, I assume that was just their opening position. A hard-nosed tactic with a side of mockery. But there's been no follow-up, just the same nonsensical slogan repeated over and over again. And now, people are getting lynched, I hear. Behind the whirling in rags. A disastrous situation if there ever was one.
Excuse me, from whom did you hear about this lynching?
I first heard it from the boyar at the gates. The one whose very name advertises his aversion to work. I think he said it was, "Call me Manana."
За меня маньяна.
This checks out.
Пятнадцатая индотриба. Бонусов нет. А что еще тут смерть поворот? Это вы их туда отправили?
The scabs? You mean the huddled masses of Jamrock, come to plead for work where the union refuses to?
Don't let her answer it herself.
Не дай ей смотреть. Назовем их штрейкбрехерами. Это ведь вы отправили их туда?
If these strike breakers were organized by Wild Pines or its affiliates, then it would be a company secret. I could not share it with you. Not yet, at least.
It's implied. She's open to discussing this matter with you at a later occasion.
А что вы можете сказать об Эврае?
Everard Clare is a man of the utmost integrity. If you can say one thing about him, it's that he always puts the interests of the workers first.
Вы серьезно?
Of course not. Everard is fantastically corrupt. I imagine he has a thick, viscous goo where you and I have blood.
If you were to prick him with something sharp, you could see it oozing out. A knife, maybe? No, a rapier.
Да, очень похоже на
He
Эврара.
is the most corrupt individual I have ever seen, and I deal with men like him for a living. If there is anyone more venal, more irredeemably nepotistic, then it's his twin brother, Edgar.
Да, мне уже доводилось слышать про это
Have you
Эдгара.
seen him?
Нет.
Edgar looks exactly like his brother, except for that lazy eye. He also talks exactly like Everard does, and when one's term as foreman is up, the other takes over.
Ты же говорил с Эвраром. Эврам, да, Эдгар нет.
It's how they circumvent the term limits, you see, with a funny little switcheroo. While in office, they've embezzled God knows how much of their workers' dues.
А что можно сказать сам по всему, не понимаю расчет братьев
The
Клэр?
Daybarders Union was once a perfectly normal institution. 20 years ago, anyway. It must not have been easy to establish under the Emergency Act, but they did it. I can respect that. Organised labour at its best, as they say. Then something happened in the local chapter elections. The brothers Clare came and transformed it into a... how do you say?
Задуматься в поисках еще уважения.
The Debarders are a crime syndicate. Sad as it may be, we are forced to cooperate with them.
Refreshingly honest, officer.
Да.
The company has tried appeasing in the past, but I'm afraid our concessions have only emboldened Everard and his brother. And your opinion, detective, if I may ask? I'm a curious and talkative person, you see. Would you say the Daybarders Union is...
Банда социалистов слишком расплывчата. Первого варианта нет. У меня еще не сложилось определенное мнение по этому вопросу.
Of course, officer.
Самый уморительный на свете центрист. 7 раз вступиться за политический центр. Что? Еще один момент. Вы сказали, что произошла какая-то история с выборами.
I'm glad you asked.
Явка.
There was a woman, the previous forewoman of the union. She disappeared.
Disappeared?
Yes. On the last day of the local chapter elections, her daughter phoned in and said she wasn't running anymore. Or coming to work. Ever. End of story.
This forewoman, her name?
Как ее звали?
Sadly, the company records do not even give a name. She's just forewoman in private correspondence, Holly. I don't even know if it's a sir or given name, and I don't have access to the union's files.
Возможно, шантажировали?
Indeed. The company suspects foul play, but there's nothing they could do. It was a union matter. The point of the presentation is, these kinds of things happen around the Clares. Watch out when you're dealing with him.
Thank you for your concern, ma'am. We'll be just fine.
Если что, нужно дать сменить
Of
тему.
course. How else can I help?
Кстати, я поговорил с Эваром
You
Клэром.
have. And how did you like Mr. Clare?
Это мой кумир, которому присягну на верность. Мне он не понравился, это правда.
Oh, come on now. He has his uses. How else would he have stayed in power all these years? Or wait, actually,
А сам отвечает на свой вопрос.
corruption. That's how he's done it. Fantastic, Verm-like corruption, reaching into the bowels of the earth.
Верм — это червь.
The position of my unusual
Почему-то
colleague does
решили
not
оставить как
reflect official
Верм.
policy. I hope you understand. The RCM does not pick sides.
Of course. And I don't expect you to share anything he told you with me. I'm not a corrupt Verm myself. However, if you felt like discussing
То есть
something...
из-за левых и из-за правых где между за все хорошее против всего плохого. Может, пиявка не подходит под описание?
How could I stop you? Are we not human? Are we not curious to hear another person's take? It's only natural. We would only be gossiping.
Она улыбается.
Intellectually speaking, it would be quite interesting to hear what she has to say about these things.
Такое себе. Зачем ей говорить о том, что он пистолет нам помогает искать? Почему еще пистолет решил поговорить тут? Ну, она говорит, типа, я не прошу вас делиться содержанием вашего с ним разговора. Однако, если вам все же захочется о чем-нибудь поговорить, разве я смогу вам помешать? Ну и, собственно, какой у нас диалог-то с Эвераром-то был? О том, что он поможет мне пистолет найти. Это главное. Если я для него там сделаю херню. Вот. К слову, она женщина. Может быть, она пистолет наш купила? Ха! Сейчас пойду. Я уже забыл, о чем мы с ним говорили, говорит Фокса. Акида дальше, что это именно она. Никаких. Ну давай, сообщу. Господин Эвара помогает мне в поиске моего пистолета.
That's so helpful of him.
The lieutenant looks at you, and you can swear his jaw muscle is trembling. He's able to contain the anger and surprise.
Unconventional police officers sometimes lose their guns. They then go around and tell people about this, to gauge their reactions. It's all part of detecting.
Incredible.
Так и есть.
Simply incredible. And how is it going? Has this detecting produced a gun?
Нет.
Well, maybe he's not as helpful as you thought then. Is there anything else?
А если не зажать, я хотел
Of
сменить тему.
course, detective. Should something come up later down the road, don't be afraid to drop by for a chat. Until then, is there anything I can help you with?
Что может сказать мне про самосуд?
Quite a few things, I'm afraid.
Размышляет о
The
чем-то.
information I'm to share with you includes sensitive trade secrets. For the sake of my employer, I have to ask for your names and badge numbers.
Of course, ma'am. We should have introduced ourselves. I am Lieutenant Kitsuragi from Precinct 57, and this is my colleague from Precinct 41, Detective Dubois. I'm afraid Harry doesn't have his badge at the moment. I hope mine will suffice.
Oh, and what happened to yours, detective?
Помните, мой напарник говорил, что у меня недавно случился необычный приступ, из-за него я потерял удостоверение.
I see. So, are you saying you lost your badge during the course of this episode?
Да.
I can't hear you, darling. Speak up, please.
А мы не можем как-то по-другому ответить? Что за бред? У нас тут два варианта. Я должен ей сообщить, что кого. Ледокол, привет. Возможно, я проснулся после ночи обильных возлияний и не смог вообще ничего вспомнить ни про свою жизнь, ни про этот мир. Насколько я знаю, я мог его съесть. Я ничего не помню. Ни про мир, ни про этот город. Ничего. Ну, давайте я мог его съесть.
Dear. I suppose this does explain some of the more curious turns in our conversation.
As I said, ma'am, his technique may be very unconventional, but he is an officer of the RCM.
Of course, I sympathize, but I'm afraid I simply can't share anything more until I've seen that badge.
She's a professional negotiator. She should be open to some sort of mutually beneficial arrangement.
Как мне с ней договориться? Сочувствует от амнезии.
She's a negotiator. Just float a favor at her. Insinuate.
Наверняка есть хоть другой способ ответить нашу принадлежность к органам
I will
правопорядка.
be frank with you. If I'm going to break protocol, I need to be able to justify it to my superiors. They're going to want to see something very tangible.
You're in, but expect her to drive a hard bargain.
Например.
Reports from inside Terminal B suggest it's a hub for the local drug trade. This is an open secret in Martinez. The Union controls the terminal, so it goes to reason.
They're profiting from this trade.
The company has tried looking into this matter before, to no avail. Perhaps someone with your authority and resources might turn over the right stones. Or you can recover your badge. Though if I may be blunt with you, it sounds like that may be a lost cause.
Detective, a word in private before we continue.
Да, прошу прощения, мы на минуточку.
Regular law official. You've done it, Harry. Whatever else you are, you're also boring now. It was not easy. You spent most of your life trying to funk up every nook and cranny of your personality. When someone says something political, the first three thoughts in your head are a ludicrous hodgepodge of communism, fascism, and stock tips. When they ask you why you did something, it's superstardom, apocalypse, or the mea culpas of the flagellant cop monk. It's not easy reaching for the fourth option, the normal one, but you have. And now, you're not just crazy, you're also boring.
Минус 1 трепет, двумя ногами на земле, минус 1 внутренняя империя, скучно, но надежный. Лимит улучшения всех навыков повышается до 3. Отстойную мысль надо ее убрать.
0.000% of communism has been built.
Да.
Evil, child-murdering billionaires still rule the world with a shit-eating grin. All he has managed to do is make himself sad. He is starting to suspect Krasmezov fucked him over personally with his socio-economic theory. It has, however, made him into a very smart boy with something like a university degree in truth. Instead of building communism, he now builds a precise model of this grotesque, duplicitous world.
Левый вариант дает плюс 4 очка опыта. Минус визуальный анализ и реакционеры повсюду. Минус авторитет, ничтожный инвокоммунист. Жестко. Третья близкая волна. Хитран. Как-то, видимо, можно. А чего ты ожидал?
Honestly, I was expecting you to use your unorthodox technique to keep her off balance, and not volunteer us to be her henchman.
Ой, то есть мы теперь ее подручные?
This woman is running circles around us. She might have known about your misplaced badge all along, or she's simply an adept improviser. Either way, we've played straight into her hands.
А ты что предлагаешь делать? Отказаться, расследовать контрабанду наркотиков?
No. If there is reasonable suspicion, we must investigate. Otherwise, she could claim we are siding with the Union, or that we are on their take. We'd never hear the end of it. What I propose is, we ask her, then we investigate, briefly. But do not share the outcome of this investigation with her. We tell her it's done, and demand for her information on the lynching.
Мы можем просто, найти мое удостоверение.
That would be fantastic, but do we have the time? The world is large and your badge is 8 by 6 centimeters. You could request a new one from your station, but that would literally take months.
Придемся к ней закончить разговор.
You're back. Good. What can I help you with?
Хорошо, расскажите мне об этой предполагаемой контрабанде наркотиков.
Someone is using Terminal B to smuggle raw ingredients from the Samaran Isla
мы не
into
знаем.
Revachol with the Union's blessing. Wild Pines has suspected it for years.
Ingredients for what, ma'am?
Meth and dextroamphetamine, GBL and various synthetic psychedelics. Honestly, it might be quicker to say what you can't make from the stuff.
Я правильно понимаю, что сырье поступает из Самары через терминал?
Yes. After they clear the terminal, we lose track. The actual production is taking place at various sites in and around Jamrock Quarter, north of here.
Wild Pine seems to be well apprised of the local drug trade, ma'am. Do you mean to say the Union also produces the product? Sells drugs, I mean?
We're in logistics. It's our business to know. And no. As far as the company knows, the Union does not produce it. They transport the ingredients for a cut.
Yes,
but you won't get anything out of Evrat and the Dockworkers Union. Still, every chain has its weak link.
Значит, мне понравится болт АЭС.
unlikely officer. I'm talking
Это
about
же
the
игра
lorries.
слов.
Once the ingredients reach Jamrock, they're distributed to a network of local manufacturers, well beyond our grasp. But in transit, they may be vulnerable. Perhaps you've noticed that a number of lorries are tangled in a traffic jam at the roundabout just now. Interview the drivers who are still hanging about. One of them might be waiting for a crucial shipment.
Яблоки, ага.
Her irises are light green, like the river Esperance in bright daylight.
Нацист с
Upstream, where it's
яблоками.
clearer.
I'll be explicit. If you find this driver, I will share company secrets with you.
Ну, уже его нашли. Почему не обратились в РГМ раньше?
We did, on more than one occasion. Apparently, there's some sort of inter-precinct disagreement about whose jurisdiction this area falls under.
We know the company has launched its own probe into the union's alleged involvement. We also know it's come up empty. It's not just the RCM. No one's been able to find any hard evidence.
Well, here's your chance, officers.
То есть застрявшие на перекрестке грузовики это не случайность, да?
No. We asked East Motor Track to raise the drawbridge. The road company is a partner of one of our subsidiaries. However, this is a limited time opportunity. Once the complaint has been processed by the Trade Committee, they'll have no choice but to lower the drawbridge, and the operation will continue. Thousands of litres of raw ingredients will pour onto the streets of Revachol. Not the east across the river, but the west. The vulnerable, the weary.
Well, at least this solves one mystery.
What is that, Lieutenant?
Why I had to call East Motor Track and beg them to open a drawbridge for me. I'd wondered since I first drove in, on my motor carriage.
Я душный от капиталистка. Да, ну Stop Gaming, мне наоборот с ней довольно приятно общаться.
I am sorry for the inconvenience, Lieutenant Kisaragi, but we need them trapped here. This is a unique opportunity. I'm sure you understand.
Чего может сказать, что профсоюз замешан в этом
How do
деле?
you think they're financing this strike? There are thousands of unpaid dock workers going strong for the 4th month straight.
Это да, хороший вопрос.
There was a shakedown of local businesses preceding the strike. Many were squeezed to bankruptcy to fund it.
With all due respect to these desert cacti, the contents of a few cash registers cannot provide for 2,000 men. The local businesses can scarcely provide for themselves.
Как вы считаете, что сбыток финансируется за счет сырья наркотиков?
Precisely. Smuggled out of that very gate at night, most likely, then loaded onto lorries and driven to Jamrock. You simply need to find one driver who will open up to you.
У нас уже есть основания подозревать, что кто-то из водителей был участником
The
самосуда.
two might even be connected.
Or not. Though, if you have evidence to the contrary, I'm eager to hear it.
As eager as I am to share it, Lieutenant, once the job is done.
Ладно, я понял, что я по поводу этого расследования контрабанды.
Yes.
Мы возьмемся за это дело, проверим родителей, посмотрим, к чему это приведет.
Excellent. According to my reports, there are at least 3 lorry drivers lingering near the roundabout. Hopefully one of them will know something. It may come to nothing, or it may just blow the case wide open. I can keep the drawbridge up for a few more days at least. You should have the time you need. In the meantime, let me know if there's any other way I may be of assistance.
Бездонный термос. Что, не знаете об этих татуировках? Проверяйте
That's the man
фотографии.
who was killed. I'm afraid this is a discussion for once we've cleared the lynching question.
Почему? Неужели вы не можете просто скрыть фотографию, как это связано с
Better
самосудом?
not tie the 4th day to the Bat's day on this. I hope there is something else I can help you with.
Загадочно. Вызовет впечатление умный человек. Мне нужно, чтобы кто-нибудь подобнее сказал мне о реальности, в которой мы
This
находимся.
reality.
Она плотнее запахивает в капюшона.
Yes, reality is your side case. An experimental side case.
Это связано с тем приступом, мне сложно вспомнить даже фундаментальные понятия этой реальности.
Yes, the episode. Sounds like an acute case of encephalopathy now that I think of it.
Оставь термос, пивот, сбегать на
Don't be
себя.
phased, madame. He functions perfectly well. He only needs a lowdown on on all of reality.
We may be here a while then. Ask away, officer. I'll help however I can.
Вот мне она приятно,
All right,
типа она
we're in.
довольно
I
открытым
know these
диалогом.
all look good, but begin with the first, okay?
Где мы?
We're in Martinez, baby.
Пупсик?
A casual term of endearment popular among the 50-plus crowd. It's a disco holdover, pay it no heed.
Я и сам пережиток эпохи диска.
Aren't we all?
Ага, а что такое Мартинес?
Martinez is a district of Revachol.
Блин, мы должны были с ней гораздо раньше
A
общаться.
very
так
small
вот. Но я и
district
так
tucked
это
away
знаю
near the
уже.
industrial harbour, north of the 881 and Jamrock. You would be excused for not knowing about it. Unimportant, they say. Forgotten even. Shelled to smithereens during the revolution. It has its charms, just not this time of year.
Расскажите мне подробнее о
I'm
Мартинезе.
not a good ambassador. I've only been here once before, as a teenager. Not a lot has changed. There are ruins, a terminal, fishing boats, reeds, boys with boxy shoulders.
Широченные
This
плечи.
place used to be a province, a workers' resort before the city swallowed it and the artillery did its work. The reeds are the real star of the show here now. The further down the coast, the wilder it gets.
Мы упомянули море, как оно
It's
называется?
not really a sea, it's the Bay of Revachol. And the bay feeds into the ocean.
Мы у океана.
Yes. We're on an island in an ocean, the world's largest body of water, the Insulindic.
Ты отрицаешь возможность получения новой информации о старых вещах или иных неизведанных взглядах на известные? Нет.
Known to the early Revacholians as Les Immensités Bleues, the Blue Immensities.
Как называется этот остров?
Caillou, as you already know. Imagine a pebble. A smoothed over pebble amidst a great blue sea, misshapen, cracked. The cracks are the river Esperance. We're in the delta of this river, on the 6th branch, the Martinez distributary.
Это Мартинес. Понятно. А что такое Ревашоль?
Revachol? Revachol is what you call a city.
Что может быть в этом городе?
Great kind.
Чем он
History
велик?
detective. They built this city to resolve history. Our part in it, at least. Our centuries.
Ясно. Кто построил этот
The
город?
nations of the Occident, or migrant workers from Seminine and Ile-Marat, depending on your creed.
Когда его построили?
In the DeLorean century. 380 years ago.
Как же помогут запечатлеть
They
историю?
say it's where the terrible questions of our time will be answered. The tensions are highest, the fault lines deepest. By that I mean conflicts. Ideological conflicts. The stuff of men.
Почему именно
We are
здесь?
standing on a fertile, self-sufficient island able to sustain up to 200 million people in the middle of the Insulindic Ocean, the world's connective tissue. It's where the money is.
То есть мы находимся в ненужной части очень нужного места. То есть мы практически в самом центре мира. То есть мы на окраине, практически никто. Ну, мы в самом центре мира.
We're quite a way off. About
Он указывает поверх воды на возвышающиеся
A
небоскребы.
collection of tall ghosts behind the water vapor, light reflecting off their glass windows.
22 kilometers from the center of the world. That soldering iron
Это
is the
довольно
point of the
близко.
world building. The bottom floors are Insiacom. Coalition government, Insulindian Mission Command.
Вот в том похожем паяльник здании. Посмотреть на море.
Silence. She lowers her hand. The water, the light. It's as though you're seeing it for the first time. There is no recognition, only the immensity of the sea and the cold radiating from it.
Где мы?
We are where we are. I have no truer answer to give, unfortunately.
Она быстро смотрит на тебя, пока ты изучаешь
This is one
горизонт.
thought you need to complete. Where are you?
Was there something else you wanted to know?
Это
I
что,
remember
разговор
something about
реальности.
a lowdown.
This has been informative. Thank you, man. I'm sure my memory-impaired partner has many more questions to ask, about even more fundamental aspects of reality. Might I suggest not asking them all right now? Madame Messier will be here later too, and tomorrow. Isn't that true, ma'am?
Absolutely. My commitment here is long-term.
Вы правы, лейтенант. Я продолжу в другой
It's
раз.
better not to eat all your candy at once.
Indeed. I'm always at your service.
Полицейская волна. Гидауна, а что такое придумать что-нибудь важное для тебя? Нет, ладно, спасибо, пока что это все. Сгоришь пока
Glad to have been of assistance. The little that I know. Of course, detective.
Я залипать начинаю, господа. Надо бы спать, ложиться. И заканчивать на сегодня. До этого заканчиваем Disco Elysium, господа. Завтра у нас... Сейчас посмотрим. Half-Life Alyx, Герой Меча и Магии 3. Half-Life Alyx мы, скорее всего, закончим. И что-то еще поставим. Вот. А Disco Elysium у нас в следующий раз во вторник. Спасибо, что смотрели. С вами был Скэтман. Приходите еще. Если вам понравился стрим, вы знаете, что делать. Если не понравился, вы тоже знаете, что делать. Все знают, что делать. До новых встреч. Споки-поки и пока. Пара-па-па-пи-пу-пам. Пи-пу-пу-пи-да-пу-пи-пам. Па-пу-пи-пам.